Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, professional astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In today's episode, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of what is going to be the crazy astrology of early 2025. With my guest, Sarah Adams, fellow astrologer, we're going to break down the key shifts and transits in early 2025 and what we think they're going to signify. So you're going to want to hear this, so you're prepared. Stay tuned. Hey listeners, I want to remind you to support Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine podcast. You can do that by going on to www.buzzsprout.com/958-528/support. This will be in the show notes. Welcome back to the episode on the astrology of 2025. It's going to be a wild ride, so put on your seatbelt. 5 major planetary shifts in the first 7 months. We haven't seen this since I can remember in my 40 years of reading astrology charts and studying astrology. You're going to want to hear what my guest, Sarah Adams, fellow astrologer, and I have to say. Sarah Adams of Water and Earth Intuitive Consulting offers professional astrology as well as channeling, Reiki, and chakra work. She has been offering tarot and astrology readings since 2001. In addition to offering guidance to clients via private readings, parties, fundraisers, events, and workshops, Sarah is also a writer, marketing consultant, and event planner. Last but not least, Sarah is a mom. She lives with her 3 daughters in their home in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where they love to cook, do arts and crafts, garden, swim, and occasionally do family yoga. In her free time, she is training for her private pilot license to fly aircraft. Contact Sarah at Sarah, capital SARAH _Adams, capital ADAMS at yahoo.com. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for having me here today.
So glad to have you break down what is going to be a year of transition and change in 2025. In numerology, it's also a 9-year, and 9 signifies endings. And in ending cycles, we also have the inklings of the new beginnings. So we'll have to get ready for what I think is a very transitional year. It's setting the tone with major planets in the early degrees of signs, all major planets, Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus, all in early degrees of the signs. And out of those 5, Uranus in an air sign, early degree, Pluto in Aquarius, air sign, Saturn and Neptune in a fire sign. This is going to light up the world as we know it. For all those people who thought that things needed to be changed, well, guess what? They will. And say goodbye to stability. You might be missing it once 2025 gets going for the first 6 months. We won't see stability again planetarily for a while. Goodbye, Earth and water, Pluto in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus, and the stabilizing influences. Hello, air and fire. Change, change, change. So, Sarah, I'm going to go through these 5 major shifts, and then we're going to kind of break them down and give feedback to our listeners. So here are the big dates. Write them in your calendar. On January 11th, 2025, we have the nodes of the moon switching into a south node in Virgo, north node in Pisces. That's certainly going to affect our health system. That goes until July 26, 2026. The nodes have switched out of Aries, north node, south node in Libra. We're going to discuss what that means. The next big planetary shift is going to be when Neptune goes into fire sign Aries on March 30th. Saturn will join Neptune in early degrees Aries on May 24th. Jupiter will go into the sign Cancer on June 9th. And then Uranus transits into Gemini on July 7th. We'll also give you the trajectories, how long they're going to be there. But I also want to remind listeners that Pluto has recently transited into Aquarius on November 19th. So we've got these change makers working, and we're going to have some big shifts. Now, Sarah, let's look at the first shift, the nodes of the moon. For those who may not know astrology, nodes of the moon are basically the axis of collective experience or collective karma, as well as personal karma or experiences in our own chart. So when we have the signs Pisces, North Node, South Node, Virgo, we're looking at health because that's the health axis in astrology. I like to say Virgo is traditional, allopathic, things like the traditional way, the traditional medical model, including things like insurance, Virgo, those structures. South Node there, dissolving, dissolution. North Node, what we're moving toward, Pisces, which is more energetic healing, spiritual healing. And again, Pisces actually rules dissolution. So we're going to see a big breakdown of what we know as health systems. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I agree. Pisces and Virgo, they're that health access. Pisces traditionally in astrology rules the feet, Virgo, the digestive system, but also Pisces is associated with blood, our immune system, and
Viruses,
yeah, pathogens, antigens,
diseases that can't be identified, elusive diseases or elusive health issues.
and actually Virgo, I've heard, is also associated with associated with systems like the digestive system, but it can also be associated with like microbes, germs. Virgo can be associated with the small details that could make you very sick.
Right. So what do you think? What do you think we have going on for the next year and a half? If this is going to go from January 2025 till the end of July 2026. What do you see? What do you predict? What do you think is going to be happening with health and with boundaries? I mean, Pisces is about boundaries too.
Right.
I think we're going to see the boundaries of countries and the world change and shift. And
Right.
Virgo is about structures and systems. So
Yeah.
we may see a breaking down of systems, boundaries blurring. What other?
Right. Well, speaking of one system, our healthcare system is one we're seeing on the news because of recent events. A lot of people are questioning the current healthcare system. And could this be the Pisces dissolution, the crumbling of the infrastructure that is based on corporate profit seeking? And, right now where we have, an illness focused system where insurance reimbursements are more of the focus rather than patient centered care. Hopefully that will shift. I think that there's going to be a demand from the public for patient centered care. And hopefully we could see, less denials and more treatment for everyone around the country who deserves it. Not just the ill and the frail who are getting denied by insurance, but also there are women who are being denied reproductive care and reproductive rights in certain states because of reproductive laws. So can we maybe save some lives? Can Americans stop dying unnecessarily?
Right. We're focusing on America more because that's where we are. Other countries have more equitable and more humane-based social care systems.
Sure.
But the other thing about Pisces is that it is a sign of compassion. So let's hope that like compassion for our fellow humans and their situations are taken into consideration, as opposed to Virgo is the corporation, the structure, going to make money from it.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting about the Pisces Virgo axis is that I see that, there's going to be a lot of new energy developments. Like I think there will be the acceptance of things such as energy healing, Reiki, water, using various kinds of water for healing and hydrating. Water is going to be a big focus in general, healing the waters, healing the oceans, but also using water and water systems. Right now, there's many of them out there. We've all known about alkaline water for a while, but there's now hydrogen water that has H3O. There's all kinds of devices that can purify water and add other elements to the water that makes it very, very healing. And we know that the cellular health is based on water. I also think we're going to get technologies. The Virgo, the positive part of Virgo, are healing technologies that can be incorporated into hospitals, that can be incorporated into your home, that will help. I already have talked quite a bit about far infrared light, something I've been into for 20 years, red light therapy, and there's many, many other technologies that are energetic in nature that actually have come from Tesla, and even maybe technologies from galactic sources that are coming down to Earth and being used now. What do you think about that, Sarah?
Yeah, I think that more and more people are going to be turning to new and old age spiritual healing versus relying on pharmaceuticals and traditional Western medicine. I was just reading an article on my news feed the other day about how women, specifically in America and the UK, are more likely right now to go to a shaman, a psychic, a medium, or get some type of spiritual healing,
Astrologer.
an astrologer, than to go to a doctor or even a therapist. And mental health comes along with this too, with the Virgo Pisces node. And with wait lists getting longer and longer for mental health care, people may be seeking more and more alternative healing modalities and practitioners.
Well, they're trying to legalize mushrooms in certain places, like medicinal mushrooms for helping with psychological or psychotic situations, which there has been a lot of research that they do help. And they do help with things like depression and anxiety and even things like addiction. They're finding that medicinal mushrooms and other substances that are natural or from the earth, it's the burgeoning earth medicine, actually, which would be the Virgo part of the mix, combined with Pisces, alternate states, allowing the mind to release the blockages through a natural method. And again, all this must be done under certified and licensed practitioner. And we're just saying that we're seeing this evolution. Our opinions are to ourselves, and we're not sharing this as opinion. We're just sharing the evolution of what medicine will look like. The other thing about Pisces too, in astrology, with the North Node there, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So we're thinking of things such as the end of life and dying, and how that may be treated in society quite differently, how people may actually do more things such as natural opiates as they leave their body, so that they can be in heightened states of spiritual awareness and consciousness as they leave their physical form, which is highly recommended through Tibetan practices.
It'll be interesting to see if that's reflected in hospice care, because that's a type of care where typically patients are signing over their Medicare benefit to hospice. The hospice team is taking over, but they're no longer doing clinical care. It's all about comfort for the end of life. Usually a chaplain's involved, but now they're bringing in Reiki practitioners, essential oil, massage. So it's like that's one area, end of life care, where we're already seeing the verging of the science of the clinical medicine and the spirituality. And to go actually on this theme into spirituality and the axis of Pisces Virgo and it affecting institutions, I'm wondering how it's going to affect religious institutions and religious practice in America, because it could kind of go two ways with this Pisces Virgo axis, either over spiritualization or people just not wanting to be spiritual at all. But we are seeing the rise of organized religion marrying with politics in our country. So it should be interesting state by state what happens with religion being taught or mandated to be taught in school. There's a lot of themes here.
That would be very Virgo, the structures or the
rigidity
or institution.
Follow
Virgo.
the rules, follow the 10 commandments, teach it in the classroom.
And that is the South Node. So we might see, a last gasp of that kind of energetic.
Well, we are already.
Right. So we may see it more. And not just in the U.S. I know, any country, there could be the rigid philosophical or ideological or spiritual structure being imposed on the populace. So we will see that and how the populace reacts to that, because with Pluto in Aquarius, you can't put baby in the corner. You're going to get people who are opposed to whatever these
Right.
dictates or mandates are rising up. I
Right.
call it the year of stand up, stand up, stand up for your rights. And that takes us into the next big transit, which is Neptune. Again, it's considered a spiritual planet going into the sign Aries on March 30th through October 22nd, 2025. And that would bring kind of like a peaceful, mystical, spiritual glamour planet into a fiery sign that can sometimes be martial or militant. What do you think is going to go down with that transit?
Well, I think that it's going to be interesting because we're going to get tastes of it, right? Because then
Right.
Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces later in the year. It's going to be kind of a show on the media, right? Because Neptune
Right.
rules the media and news coverage, as well as Neptune rules Hollywood and cinema because it shapes how we perceive our collective culture and reality, how we view the world. So, Neptune also can affect religion, as we were just talking about. And with the North Node in Pisces and then Neptune, in the final degrees of Pisces in, January, February, March, and then going into Aries in March, again, we may see that impose religion. And then with Pluto and Aquarius, as Jill said, no one puts baby in a corner. That might be the people standing up and a rise of atheism just because people don't want to be told what to believe. But
Or radicalization of religious groups. We're seeing
yes,
this may be showing up in the Middle East as we record this.
right.
Radical religious groups trying to grab onto Aries power with
Yes.
firepower and militant or martial force imposing their mandates.
Right. And that was actually something that I had written in my notes, kind of like hoping it's not a reality that manifests, but again, we're already seeing it is, the escalation of war over religion.
Right. And Saturn goes into Aries then May 24th to September 1st. That's the Lord of Karma, or again, a very collective sign in Aries. Now, that could go two ways. Saturn could be, say, the buck stops here, enough, let's restrict this, because Saturn likes to restrict. Or it could be formalizing and structuring some of this Aries energy. I also feel like with Neptune and Saturn going into Aries, Aries is an individual sign where Aquarius is the collective. We may see individuals standing up for what they believe. That's the combination of Aries Aquarius and doing something radical, Aquarius, like shooting a CEO of an insurance company or doing something else. So we may see some radical individuals thinking they're standing up for a cause for the greater good.
Right. And I mean, that Aries energy, it is the god of war. And also, kind of a key theme with Aries, whether you know one or we're talking about the planets in Aries, they can be jump before you think. It
Right.
can be impulsive.
Right. Right. And Aries kind of is the beginning of a new cycle too. So we might on the positive side of Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries for a few months this year, I think we might see a lot of new innovations coming or inventions or new ways of doing business or introduction of new concepts, institutions. It's going to be hard for them to take this year, but we will get the introduction. This could be in any area. It could be economically. I think it will help things like cryptocurrency with Pluto and Aquarius. We're going to get the introduction of potential new things that may take or may not take in the coming years, but they may be trotted out in 2025.
There's also the theme, and I think this will ring true for many people, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter where you're living in the world. It could be extreme or symbolic, but Aries is also a sign of survival. And we've had Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. We just talked about we're finishing up the North Node in Aries, and the North Node will move into Pisces. But there's been a theme on our planet that has only intensified about who has the right to live, who has the right to exist. We see people displaced from their land and, holy wars being fought over land, who has the right to it. But I mean, for all of us, whether you're middle class and doing well, or whether you're living somewhere in war and strife and literally trying to survive, there's that inner sentiment of like, I just want to get by, I want to be okay, I want to get through whatever's going on. And that's Aries sometimes. Like, I have a voice. I stand here, a puny human, claiming my right to exist.
Right. And what I think is going to happen with that, so Aries very much the individual. Neptune is their outer planet, kind of rules glamour. It also rules vision. Imagine all the people living life in peace. And then Saturn in Aries. And those guys are going to be in direct harmony with Pluto and Aquarius. Right. So I see like-minded people banding together for their cause, or find your tribe, vibe your tribe. Right. Tribes of people, groups of people who have the same idealization or the same ideas or want new beginnings in some area. They'll band together and they may make it happen as individuals, because with the breakdown of the old order, Pluto leaving Capricorn, and these systems being inflicted upon people, South Node in Virgo, we're going to see the rise of individuals with common beliefs, with common goals, and with common ideals that will benefit the whole. Pluto and Aquarius banding together and maybe going against the status quo, because united we stand.
Yes, united we stand, united, not divided. And I think that the idea of this decentralization of corrupt power is really a theme here. The power to the people, but that comes first from deconstructing and decentralizing large, bodies that are oppressing us, whether it's an institution, a corporation. I mean, how can we take back our power? And also, I always say, like, I was making notes about this astrology, like, what can people do? But I say this at any time, go within, because these will be confusing times.
Right.
Like the shifts from like Aries to Pisces with the nodes, and then Neptune from Pisces into Aries in May, it's going to be like really using that gift of discernment as you're watching the news, going within. If things get weird in our country with religion, there's going to be that desire to either like over spiritualize and get lost in it, or completely shut down spiritually because you're feeling oppressed. But it's the idea of like cultivating our own inner world in our own sense of higher truth on our own spiritual path, because part of decentralizing the power and empowering ourselves as individuals is to give up the need for a higher power or institution to tell us what to do or what to believe. And it's actually easier and more comfortable to be told what to do. But when you decide to wake up, it's like, oh, okay. The illusion on the media, Pisces, maybe I can find the high note of Pisces, the higher calling, by using the Virgo energy, like the South Node in Virgo, to do the self-care. Like, stay grounded. Is basically my takeaway. Stay grounded.
And this, by when you say high power, you mean like a construct of power, a worldly power or man-made power. But the Pisces North Node will bring us into direct contact with our own higher power or higher self. So maybe you don't need that middleman, as corrupted as it is, to get you there in a religious or spiritual way. But the other thing, I really like what you said, that these are going to be confusing times and there will be a lot of cray-cray out there. So your compass is your inner compass, and the more inner work you do, the stronger you will be. When we come back, we're going to talk about the last two major transits of this year. Jupiter transiting into Cancer on June 9th, where it will stay for a year until June 30th, 2026. And Uranus transiting into Gemini from July 7th to November 7th. So stay tuned. Are you interested in natural health and regenerative healing? Do you want to work with vibration to heal your body? Check out this patented wearable light technology at www.lifewave.com/JillJar. LifeWave is a company that has patches that you wear. So it's not transdermal, you're not taking anything in. And what these patches do, they activate your body's light. It's called biomodulation. And that light is activated, your body starts producing GHK, copper peptides, which in turn activates stem cell production. That's right. So wearing these patches will regenerate your body, reflects your body's light back into your tissues, and you become more vital, energized, reduce pain, inflammation, improvement of sleep, increase strength are all possibilities. Other benefits could be hair quality, rapid wound healing, mental clarity, increased joy and stamina, your skin appearance and wrinkles could go away. Again, all probable and possible depending on your chemistry. Others have enjoyed increased sports performance and recovery and restored muscle or skeletal conditions. Check it out at lifewave.com/JillJar and order yours today. Welcome back to Astrology Update 2025, key astrological transits that are going to affect us all, with my guest, fellow astrologer Sarah Adams. So let's go into June 2025 when Jupiter, the Santa Claus or guru, goes into the sign Cancer for a year from June 9th, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. What do you think is going to go down then, Sarah?
Well, I'm hoping that there's an expanding awareness around reconnecting with Mother Earth and feminine divine, because Jupiter is expansion and it can kind of magnify the focus. And Cancer is the sign of the mother, the goddess, family, nurturing, and, remembering our first mother, the planet, Mother Earth.
Yes. Amen. From your mouth to goddess's ears.
Yes.
I do think there will be a return to home and family. I mean, the downside of this could be more nationalism, Cancer, your mother country. But I really think you're right. I think it's a returning to the earth. We've got to save this precious planet that we're all dwelling on. I also think that it will be the rise of the goddess in reaction or just naturally coming as a result of all that martial Aries that will be activated. And I do think that it's people appreciating home, family, community, and it may actually help the housing markets.
Right. And I mean, there's a theme here for the month of June. It's a Cancerian month. We're wrapping up Gemini and moving into Cancer. We have Mercury going into Cancer the day before. Jupiter goes into Cancer. And, then the sun enters Cancer later in the month for the summer solstice. And we end the month with the new moon in Cancer. So maybe also women and girls will get some more attention, because there's some parts of the world, including in our own country, where women and girls are being oppressed. And, in the Middle East right now, I mean, it's a gender apartheid. Right. So may all the Cancerian energy of 2025 just shine some benevolence on women who don't have a voice.
Amen. Again,
Yes.
From your mouth to the goddess's ears. I think that the Jupiter in Cancer is going to be quite soothing. Again, there will be attention to the waters of the world, Cancer, and coming home. And I think there may be a collective awakening of coming home to ourselves, to our ancestors, to our roots, and an honoring of that and a protection of that. Cancer is very protective. So even though there may be some crazy things going on, there will be a return to protection. And it's very interesting because the United States is a Cancerian country.
Right.
We were founded on July 4th during the sign of Cancer. So I think this could be a very good bump up for the United States, for our food supply, for going home for what we need, as opposed to going to other countries for the better or for worse. And then that fifth major transit, which is a little scary because we've got the erratic planet going into the sign Gemini. Uranus goes into Gemini from July 7th to November 7th. And we think we're going to be okay getting out of that polarization when Jupiter leaves Gemini, but then we have Uranus go into it a month later. So I think we're going to see more polarization, and we're going to see more crazy. Uranus is unexpected and can be sometimes eccentric, crazy, or again, surprise. We may see some weird alliances in the world. I think that that's goes without saying, but with the Aquarius trining Uranus, sextiling Neptune and Saturn, things are going to get really weird and wacky.
I'm interested to see with this Gemini energy how it affects social media and the internet. I've found it interesting. So, as we move into new times, people are disillusioned with the traditional, whether it's societal norms that no longer make sense, or laws that are unjust, or just a disillusion with oppression from, corporations or outmoded government bodies. So, what I find is interesting, though, as I see this disengagement from society with following, the traditional rules and mores, I'm noticing that on social media and internet, the court of public opinion is becoming stronger and stronger. So much that, like, with Jupiter and Gemini, people are watching TV shows or documentaries and then demanding that, prisoners are set free or that there's new trials. The court of public opinion, it's been really interesting. There could be a tragedy that happens, and then online and social media, everybody turns it into a joke, or they hail, who would have traditionally been seen as the criminal in a crime is now, could be hailed as the hero for doing something that, exposed corruption. So it's just interesting with Jupiter finishing up in Gemini and then Uranus going into Gemini. I'm wondering if social media is going to become even more powerful of an influence and even more kind of out of control than it already is.
Right, right. And what would be mainstream opinion, social media and some of the alt medias are going directly against it, which is total polarization.
Yeah.
And in a different way. I mean, we've had these phases of polarization going on for the past years. I mean, I think that there is some kind of thing behind it, especially with what they're trying to do with America, first dividing male, female, then the political division being through the roof, out of control, racial division. And now I think that the social media, from what I see it is, there's a bit of generational division because those people who grew up on social media, who are maybe younger generations, let's say in their teens, 20s, 30s, have different ideologies because of that than the older generations, and let's say they're 50s, 60s, 70s. So there's the beginning of the generational division.
Yes.
And what is new isn't always good. Some of the old traditions and classical things are better. So we'll see that kind of break between what classically has been heralded as good in many ways. I even think educationally, I think this Uranus and Gemini is certainly going to affect Gemini. Like what's Gemini? Small bites instead of reading a book. Just watch a video or
a YouTube
see something,
short.
Yeah, an internet thing instead of diving deep. So I'm not sure if the Uranus in Gemini, either that, it's another explosion of information such as AI, and we'll see that our society is going to get even more disassociated than it already is.
Right.
But it could also be, the higher vibration of Uranus is enlightening. So we may see more actual enlightening information that is valid.
Yeah.
And not opinion based.
Yeah. And it is interesting and for me, heartwarming when you see the light side of it, that this new generation of kids on the internet and social media, that they're cracking 30-year-old cold cases, or they're going back and saying like, oh, let's call out what our mother and grandmothers put up with that we won't. I mean, so there is a positivity to it. You know, you've got these 20-something sleuths.
Right. It is kind of cool in a way. And that would be very Uranian, too.
Yes.
Like, we just cracked this cold case that's been hanging around forever because we put 2 and 2 together. So there will be, I would like to see the Uranus as more of an enlightenment as opposed to a disassociation or a breakdown or a breakdown before a breakthrough. Always.
Right. And then, you know, in Gemini, I think part of the reason we don't know is it's because it's the sign of the duality.
Right.
And Gemini's the good twin or the bad twin. So sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. But I can tell you with Jupiter and Gemini, it's been both. It's, for me personally, flashes of enlightenment, and then I'm shown like the mundane, third dimensional, harsh reality of it. So we're almost in a way, I say this with love, nothing to fear, but almost prepare yourself for the whiplash of going back and forth, you know, digesting the two sides of everything that are coming at you.
And certainly the Uranus in Gemini shows us a deeper reality shift or reality split. Some people are living in one reality while others are living in another one. Yeah. And not that one is better or worse. It's just where your consciousness is at. And so I think that's our teaching moment for this podcast, that create your own reality, be grounded, walk the earth, be kind, be gentle with yourself, self-care, take care of yourself, embrace Mother Earth, walk the earth, and tread lightly during these times. What do you say, Sarah?
The high points of these transits of 2025, yes, there will be the duality that we discussed. There will be anger among the population. Part of division sometimes is good because it can be separation from systematic oppression and power to the people, but also don't take it too far. You know, sometimes when we're doing advocacy work or human rights work, it's like even the advocates are fighting among themselves. It's like we've just got to remember, like, staying in the vibration of like love and hope is going to attract more of that. There's plenty of fear and anger to be had. So why sustain that vibration yourself when it's all around you in this world? You know, be that inner light. We had talked about this in the solstice podcast. Be the inner sun shining from within in times of darkness, because you know what? We have an opportunity to ride the wave into evolving consciousness and multidimensional awareness that is part of the dissolving of the old and riding the wave into the new.
That's beautiful. So that's excellent advice to heed going into 2025. Be the light you want to be in the world. Be the peace you want to be in the world. Create the reality you want within, and it will be reflected without, and that we can live in multiple realities and parallel universes at one. And 2025 is going to show us how. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Jill. It was wonderful to be here. Blessed be everyone. Happy New Year.
It's a great time to book a reading. So check out my website, JillJardineAstrology.com/shop, and pick the kind of reading or service you would like. I hope you enjoyed this episode on the astrology aspects of 2025. Make sure you download, subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending out healing cosmic currents into the quantum field.